The biggest tax and spend socialist scheme since Karl Marx invented the hammer and sickle, called the Paris Accord, has come America's way, and if we don't stop it, America will follow the greatest boondoggle in history, another socialist scheme called the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. You remember that Beatles song, don't you? Back in the USSR, boy. Back in the USSR. Well, hello. This is Charles Benninghoff, and I intend this video to be the spark to set ablaze conservatives across America, because we all are now in grave peril. Big government climate liars are moving to prosecute conservative Americans who do not believe their climate change hoax. As for us, everyone blaming American industry and consumers for worldwide pollution problems is a climate liar. We'll examine that. The Paris Accord is a multi-nation wealth transfer scheme signed by Obama in 2015 that is being used like a witch's cauldron to boil conservatives alive. It is a so-called accord and not a treaty, so the Constitution's treaty provisions could be circumvented by this little name-calling trick. We conservatives must convince the Senate to pass Senate Resolution 290, which will designate the Paris Accord as a treaty in order to defeat it and shut down the Democrat Party's Nazi-like efforts to throw all outspoken conservatives in federal prison for their beliefs and their free speech. If you agree with us on this issue, click the link appearing now on your video screen, and you'll be taken to our action page. Everything on our action page is self-explanatory, and you can get involved in fighting to pass Senate Resolution 290, which designates the Climate Liar Agreement as a treaty. But if you want more information on this issue before taking action, hang on. I will explain this all in greater detail in the next few minutes. Obama signed the Paris Accord hoax agreement a few months ago. Climate liars everywhere were thereby emboldened. Now, a group of 16 Democrat, read that socialist, attorneys general met with Al Gore in March and agreed to abuse their power and prosecute organizations and individuals that tell the truth about the thoroughly disproven climate change theory. In fact, the Attorney General for the U.S. Virgin Islands, Claude Walker, has subpoenaed all correspondence between ExxonMobil and 90 additional different conservative groups that have been active in the fight against climate liars. Those conservative groups include the Heritage Foundation, the Competitive Enterprise Institution, and the Federalist Society. Next, I presume, will be the Boy Scouts, because they don't have a merit badge for global warming. This is so anti-American that I don't even know where to start. But first of all, what these attorneys general are doing could well be a federal felony, according to University of Tennessee law professor Glenn Reynolds. Under 18 United States Code, Section 241, if two or more people conspire to injure or intimidate you in the free exercise of any constitutional right, those conspirators could be found guilty of a federal felony. The idea that conservative groups are being targeted for expressing disagreement with the climate liars should be blood-curdling to all Americans. The whole purpose of the free speech clause in the First Amendment was to ensure that you can voice a dissenting opinion without being prosecuted. This is something that Democrats, virtually all of whom are now hardline socialists, pretend to not understand, because the Constitution is standing in their way of global domination. The free speech concept comes straight from the New Testament, which is why godless socialists hate free speech. Paul wrote about free speech in several places. One example is in 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 12, and I quote, "Since we have such hope, we use great boldness of speech," close quote. Some translations render that as great plainness of speech, but the literal translation means we use great freedom of speech. The climate liars want to prosecute you unless you share their opinion that cow flatulence is a greater danger to American lives than Muslim terrorists. Free speech is the greatest weapon we have against the climate liars in the media. And in public office, And they know this, which is why they are openly targeting conservative groups for prosecution. From its very inception, the Democrat Party has been trying to use scientific consensus as a means to control your speech, your life, and your money. Even if the scientific consensus is wrong and actually doesn't even have a base, as it is with the climate change hoax. Remember, Democrats were big fans of the scientific consensus that Hitler followed to try to exterminate all non-whites and Jews. For example, even back in the 1830s when the Democrat Party first came into being, many scientists believed the earth was hollow and that there were civilizations similar to Indian tribes living inside the planet. As Ronald Reagan said about these socialist Democrats, and I paraphrase, the problem with the Democrats is they know so many truths that are simply not true. Democrats in the Senate tried unsuccessfully to fund, at that time, a military expedition to find an opening to the hollow earth so they could send troops in to conquer these people and claim those lands, if you can believe it. The leader of that scientific consensus effort was Richard Johnson, the second Democrat ever to be elected Vice President of the United States. That's quite a track record, and it shows you just how much you can trust Democrats and scientific consensus. Senate Resolution 290 would declare that Obama's scientific consensus climate hoax treaty is in fact a treaty, not an accord, and thereby requiring the advice and consent of the Senate, which we believe would doom it to failure. Obama hopes to implement the climate hoax agreement by simply not calling it a treaty, but the agreement fits every definition of a multinational treaty. If we can convince Congress to pass this resolution, Obama's agreement will be dead in the water, and hopefully this will also bring an end to the Democrat Party's religious witch-hunting zealotry to prosecute conservatives for their exercise of free speech. Here's how you can help. If you are already on our action page, use the form to the right to contact Congress in support of Senate Resolution 290 today. If you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, or another channel, just click the link now appearing on your screen to be taken to the action page. Tell Congress to designate Obama's climate hoax as an international treaty and vote it down. Click the link and take action now. This is Charles Benninghoff signing off and wishing you freedom, fulfillment, and God's many blessings.
Satan can't make me doubt it. It's real and I'm gonna shout it. I was there when it happened, and I guess I ought to know.